Today I'm going to be covering the most important and most difficult conversation that you can have with your child before sending them off to school this year, and that is the topic of suicide awareness. Here in the state of Utah, we are at 60% above the national average, with suicide being the #1 cause of death amongst children ages 10 to 17. Just at Harriman High this year alone, there were 7 suicides. Suicides do intend to increase during the school year, so this is particularly a timely conversation that you want to have with your kids. There are several signs of suicide. One can be a recent trauma or a crisis in their life, a divorce, a breakup with a girlfriend or boyfriend, a move, a death in the family, death of somebody close to them. Anxiety and depression are a big indicator. Signs of anxiety and depression can look like agitation, increased sleep, decreased sleep, increased appetite, decreased appetite, weight gain, weight loss, a loss of activities that they were previously, or loss of interest in activities they were previously engaged in, like sports or drama or choir, a loss of interest in social relationships, isolation, a decline in academic performance, and a preoccupation with death. Protective factors are a positive social environment, so positive home, school, peer groups, and open communication and connection with others. That's why we need to talk. Psychologist Polly Dunn says, let your kids know that you are the person they can talk to about problems and about tragedies, not the person that avoids them and hides from them. So what's developmentally appropriate? In our preschools and kindergartners, we're not going to talk about suicide at all. If the question comes up from them, we're going to answer it in a very general, vague way, much like you would if someone were to die of cancer. So just explaining that sometimes people get diseases, the diseases take over their body and they die. In children 7 to 10, we're going to do the same, letting them dictate the conversation, but giving them short, true answers, letting them be your guide. Children 11 to 14, we need to be concrete. It's time to start bringing the topic up naturally. So saying something like, hey, I read an article the other day, or I saw a show on TV, or I heard a story about suicide, a story about somebody who took their life. How do you feel about that? What do you think about that? Have you ever felt that way? Have you had a friend that felt that way? Again, you want to give them short, true answers. And don't worry about putting ideas in their head. Research has shown that talking about suicide actually helps reduce the risk of suicide. 1/3 of our teenagers have experienced some mood dysregulation that scares them. Now, this doesn't mean they're going to go on to have severe mental disabilities, but it does mean that they've felt some distress, and they need to know that they're not alone. Ask questions. What have you heard about suicide? Gather information from them. What do they know? You want to be on the same page and enter the conversation where your child is at. Correct misinformation. So if you hear your child say something like, yeah, people who are weak commit suicide, or people who are crazy commit suicide, you want to explain that, depression is a disease, much like cancer. And share some of the warning signs. Give them clear questions. Don't dance around the topic, but let them see that you're a safe place, a safe person that they can talk to when they have a problem. Counter the stigma by staying calm. So if your child says, yeah, Mom, I actually have had a suicidal thought, you might say, wow, so did you think about how you might do that? That's a scary, scary question to ask. And then a follow-up question would be, well, tell me what kept you from doing that. You want to hear things like, boy, I have a family that I love, and I know things always get better. And those are things that you can share with your child. You can say things, I tell my kids, boy, I've had times where I felt like I wish I could give up. I wish I could be done. I wish I were never born, or I didn't have to exist anymore. But it always, always gets better. And suicide is a permanent solution to a very temporary problem. Things always get better. You want to ask your kids, who's somebody you can talk to at home when you're struggling? Do you have a trusted neighbor, or an aunt, or an uncle, or a cousin, a grandparent, a parent? Who do you feel safe talking to at home? And who do you have at school? A school counselor, a teacher, a friend, a principal. You want to know that your kids have somebody that they can talk to. Don't try to fix the problem, but support. Listen, and get your children help if they need it. In high school, it's not a matter of if, but when. So you want to ask the question to your children, what will you do when you feel this way? What will you do when your friends feel this way? Reassure them that we get it, that we've been there, and that things always get better. And in college, be nosy. Push your kids to talk. Ask the questions. Be direct. Below in my links and my comments, I will place the numbers for the suicide hotline as well as the suicide help text line. There's also an app called Safe Utah that you can have your kids download where they can anonymously report if they think somebody's at risk or if they are at risk.